Just how can your own desire to succeed be the very thing that's holding you back? This is Break From Life.
Welcome back, and if it's your first time watching one of our videos, then it's fantastic to have you here. Have you noticed how it's always the players who seem the most carefree when they're playing the game that appear to have the most success? And Mark Williams is a great example of this. Here he is casually knocking in his first ever professional 147 break. But to suggest he isn't trying is a bit ridiculous when you consider he was practicing over 12 hours a day for months before some of the biggest results of his career. So is it actually more about what you're trying to accomplish?
This has actually led me to believe that players who are more successful at any level actually have a different approach and different goals to everybody else.
But what does this mean? Well,
this can be best explained with a pocket.
Now you think the more effort you put into being accurate in all areas of your game, including podding the balls in the centre of the pocket, then you're going to do better than a player who isn't so precise and isn't so concerned about podding the balls accurately.
But surprisingly, the more successful players seem to be less concerned about how cleanly they actually pot the balls.
It doesn't always seem to make sense, but this different approach allows you to focus more of your concentration on areas of greater value. Essentially, just having the right goals can make a huge difference. It's best shown with this performance over time graph. To start off with, the more you play, the better snooker player you'll become. But just by chasing the wrong targets, you can limit your game at a level that you're never going to be able to overcome. But by trying just as hard with a different approach where you're getting the things that actually matter right, and stop concerning yourself with minor technical details that are almost irrelevant, then you'll be surprised at what you can actually do. You won't be able to improve exponentially, but it will make a huge difference.
The strange thing about snooker is you'll come across a tough shot like this one. You'll be worried you're going to miss it and lose the game. You'll approach it really unconfidently, and you'll be afraid you look really unconfident. And eventually you'll get down and hit it, and let's just say you pot it.
And this in itself may shock you because the whole thing felt so awful. I see this a lot where a player worries not just about their technical and mental approach to the shot, but how this appears from the outside, and often leads them to becoming so concerned about upcoming shots that they almost forget to pot them. And oddly, this can be undetectable from the outside.
The reality is, it doesn't matter where the balls are. The only thing that's going to worry your opponent is if they think you're going to pot them.
After winning some incredibly nervy games, I've been surprised to be told by people that I looked incredibly relaxed. And that's because everybody's concerned with what's happening on the table rather than what you're actually doing. And if you can begin to understand that, you can begin to understand this different approach, which we can look at in more detail after we add Kisan to the map, who's the second person we've had from Hyderabad, India.
So here's the 5 things you're going to have to come to terms with to be able to play to your full potential in any situation.
And the first one is all about what you should and shouldn't be thinking about when you're on a shot. And what your technique is doing is definitely something you shouldn't be thinking about, no matter how ridiculous it feels. No matter how good your intentions are at this stage, you're unlikely to be able to make anything any better. It's more to do with preparation.
By the time you get on the shot, you should have already decided which direction, how hard and how much spin you're about to play the cue ball with. And you just want to be checking that you're getting all of these things right. It's almost impossible to know exactly what your body's doing when you're actually down on the shot. So not only are you likely to get whatever you're trying to do wrong,
but you're also going to lose your ability to concentrate on some of the things you really need to do, like where you're striking the cue ball and with how much power. Even just the alignment of the shot requires a lot of attention on its own. In fact, the only 2 visible parts of your technique you can afford to think about are keeping your head on the cue and the position in which your cue hand finishes, but this is only after you completed the shot. The second thing you need a different approach for is how you react to pressure. Because it's a lot of people's opinion that pressure makes you lose control of your cueing and tighten up on shots.
This isn't the case. In fact, the complete opposite is true. you create all these problems to try and compensate for nerves.
I've shown in the previous video that's in the card right now how tightening up on a shot can cause you to miss almost anything. You need to be able to keep to your regular technique, and this is just another area where players try too hard.
Under pressure, players will often forget to think about either the pot or the position, so you just need to make sure in difficult situations that you're getting all the basics right.
Again, this means making sure you get everything right that we talked about in the previous step. Working out your line, power and spin before the shot, focusing on getting them right when you're at the table, and after you finish playing the shot, making sure your hand is in the correct position and your head is on the cue. But what about your game itself?
Where it's true you can't make as many mistakes against better players, this doesn't mean you have to play more extreme shots.
I'm often surprised at the amount of people who truly believe that you have to change your shot selection and effectively your entire strategy depending on the abilities of your opponent. Other than how attacking you play a few safety shots, you always want to be playing the game that works the best for you. And that's the game that works the best for you in all situations.
You may have to up your game, but this doesn't necessarily mean changing the shots that you would normally play.
Now that does mean playing to the best of your ability, but you're more likely to do that if you're playing shots you're used to and feel comfortable with. And if you can just do that, you may be surprised at the results you're actually able to achieve. Just like I was surprised to find Super Zantan in Guaynabo in Puerto Rico. And now the problem with perfection.
This is actually very odd, but I think we all get led into believing that we have to play the game perfectly.
I think it's this that can cause us to worry about the significance of every little detail. The different approach that's required here, just like potting the ball in the centre of the pocket early, is to be able to look at what's gone right on a shot and think about what that means you can do next, rather than to worry about how close things were to going wrong or previous shots that went wrong. This can lead you to start questioning decisions you're making, and if you ever start doing that, then that means you're definitely trying too hard in the wrong areas. There's no point in questioning past decisions when there's new decisions to be made.
Ultimately, nobody, no matter how good they are, is in full control of the game. Snooker isn't about perfection, it's about just doing enough, just about potting the ball, just about getting in position. If you can do that,
then you should find you start surprising yourself with the results you're actually able to get. Because no one ever comes to the table feeling that they're 100% in control. And it's those players who are able to avoid creating an imaginary psychological battle where they're only concerned about the end result, not how it looks or how they got there, who are truly able to focus all their efforts on playing the game. But it certainly took all my efforts to find cats in the garden from Brenham, Texas. The final thing you may need to change could affect your entire life. When every type of media platform in the entire world is trying to tell you some sort of story, it's easy to think that your life works by the rules of a narrative.
and it's incredibly easy to think it affects your life or a game of snooker in exactly the same way. You're just waiting for the part where everything goes wrong.
The assumption that everything works by set rules is an incredibly human thing to think. It's not that snooker follows the rules of a traditional narrative, but trying to find patterns in seemingly random events can have consequences.
Now, I'm not saying you have to change the way you play, but if you're making the game into a story, this can lead you to become overcautious. You end up trying to just about win games, to just scrape over the line. And if you want to get past this barrier, it's going to require a different approach, where you're trying to win the games outright.
Instead of starting a game trying to scrape an unlikely victory, set yourself the goal of winning the game. Just doing this should help you to cross the line whenever you get a chance and stop you from thinking it isn't possible.
Now, of course, none of this will give you what you need to improve at the game, but it simply removes the limitations, the things stopping you getting any better.
But if you want to find out about doing the right practice to help you cue straight, then have a look at our video, Snooker Straight Cueing Exercises to Improve, or find out more about angles in snooker with Snooker Angles. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.